Xenia students take to the streets. They say no levy, no school.
And here's something you may never have seen before in a hospital. It is dog therapy, and we'll show you how it works.
Live from the award-winning Miami Valley News Leader, Up to the Minute News with Jim Baldridge and Deborah Countess, AccuWeather with Dave Freeman, and Sports with Mike Hartsock. Now, NewsCenter 7 at 6.
Good evening.
One day after the election, and Ohio's governor-elect is wasting no time preparing to take over at the State House.
George Voinovich says he is anxious to get to work after last night's big win over Anthony Calabrese. And as NewsCenter's Jim Otte reports, the new governor is already talking about reforms in the political process.
With the victory at the polls and a mandate from the people, George Voinovich is already going to work. He's setting up a transition team. It includes Springfield native Kurt Steiner, who is Voinovich's campaign communications director. Outgoing Governor Richard Celeste has pledged a smooth transition. One of the new governor's first goals in the legislature will be passage of a new campaign finance reform law.
And I have to tell you that I was not happy with having to spend as much time that I did in this campaign dialing for dollars and trying to get money to pay for our campaign. There's got to be a better way of doing it. It's out of hand. In Ohio, it's out of hand nationally.
Voinovich says the pressure to raise enough money for multi-million-dollar media campaigns is just too overwhelming. He calls it dangerous for the political process.
I think it's a threat to people's ability to do their work because they're spending too much of their time trying to raise money for campaigns.
Governor Voinovich will be sworn in here on the State House steps in January, but still a lot of work to be done to set up the new administration. In Columbus, Jim Otte, NewsCenter 7.
Wonder if the swearing in will be as wet and cold as last year. Anyway, the loser in the race, Anthony Calabrese, says he's not sure what he's going to be doing in the future.
And Deborah, it'll probably be Thanksgiving, they say now, before we know who the next Ohio Attorney General will be. The race between Democrat Lee Fisher and Republican Paul Pfeiffer went down to the wire, with Fisher now leading by less than 1,000 votes statewide. Several thousand other ballots are still to be counted, but Fisher thinks he'll hang on and eventually win.
Many people thought that Lee Fisher could not win a general election against someone who'd been on the statewide ballot twice, and this is the 4th time he's run for statewide office. I've always been the underdog. I've always been in close races. So the fact of the matter is we are ready for another close race over these next 3 weeks.
Fisher says he didn't get much sleep last night. He also believes there will be a recount.
Employees of the Montgomery County Auditor's Office are concerned about their futures tonight. They went to work stunned by the upset of incumbent Dana Stamps in last night's elections. Challenger A.J. Wagner garnered 53% of the vote, but the auditor-elect says most of the current employees will not lose their jobs.
One of the promises I made during the campaign was that every position in that office is going to be evaluated. We're going to have an outside personnel consultant come in and create job descriptions with objective job qualifications. And that way that at least if I hire Democrats, I can go back to the public and say they are indeed qualified to hold these positions.
Wagner says at least 6 positions will be eliminated when he takes office in March.
The chant is, if the levee don't go, we won't go. And that's what hundreds of Xenia school students chanted as they walked out of school today. As NewsCenter's Sally Taylor reports, it's because voters turned down the Xenia school levy once again.
Hundreds of Central Junior High students walked out of school and said so long to their education.
You walk into my school and everybody's sad, you know, and everybody just feels there's no reason to go to school anymore. There's nothing left.
They try and take our sports and stuff away. They're taking education away from us. How are we supposed to go to college with an education in Xenia?
What am I going to do? I mean, it's going to be hard to, I can't really have any fun playing sports.
The kids say this is their way of blowing off some steam. They're mad, they're frustrated. They'll now have to give up all their sports and special classes. But there's one thing they're not giving up.
I think we still have Xenia pride, and we're showing it out while we're out here right now.
Many kids left school grounds to rally, and school officials got worried.
We're concerned about young people off school campus and on the streets when motorists don't expect them to be there, and we're very concerned about their safety.
Hundreds of students decided to rally in the junior high gym. Trying to supervise were some teachers who will soon be fired because of the failed levy.
Hurt, a little upset, but, you know, I'll survive.
So while the pride is still alive in Xenia schools, these kids say this is definitely one big loss that will take some time to get over. Sally Taylor, NewsCenter 7.
Another request for a Xenia school levy is expected to be on the ballot again soon.
The man accused of the 1988 murder of an Arby's restaurant manager was in court today. The attorney for William Wesley Baker is fighting to keep critical evidence out of an upcoming trial. According to a Dayton police detective, Baker admitted he killed Paula Fox in December of 1988, but Baker's lawyer says that testimony should not be used as evidence against his client. The attorney says the statement was made without an attorney present and that Baker never signed any document waiving his rights. The prosecutors say, though, that Baker clearly knew what his rights were when he talked with police.
The key here is that although the defendant did not want to sign a particular form, he still told the detective that he was willing to talk to him. After that, there was an exchange of questions and answers, and I think those are clear that the defendant knew his Miranda rights and he did in fact waive those Miranda rights orally, although not in writing.
Judge Barbara Gorman expects to rule on the issue in a couple of days. A trial date has not been set.
Police say a gunman with a history of mental problems threatened citizens and police officers at gunpoint today. 42-year-old Dennis Cook was arrested by Mad River and Dayton police following a manhunt in a wooded area off Woodman Drive. The busy roadway was blocked off by police to ensure safety. Police say Cook pointed the shotgun at several people and had enough ammo for a small war.
I had deer slugs, a double-out buck. He was carrying a shotgun, bolt-action shotgun. He had about 40 rounds on him.
Cook has been arrested many times for assault, illegal hunting, and harassment. Police say they've urged his family to have him hospitalized.
There is a heart-wrenching story in the news tonight that will probably turn your stomach. A story of animal cruelty that reminds us what some people are capable of doing. We get the details from NewsCenter's Linda Robertson.
Despite the way he looks, this 2-year-old cat is lucky to be alive. If Dayton firefighters from the station at Main and Fairview hadn't found him in a nearby parking lot, he would have surely suffocated. Someone had bound both his front and back legs and completely wrapped his head with several layers of duct tape.
So that the cat was literally unable to move, open its mouth, eat, drink, or do anything except just lie there and die.
Psychologists will tell you that whoever was capable of harming this cat is also capable of doing the very same thing to a child, a spouse, a parent, anyone who is weaker.
This is much more premeditated, where you take an animal and you actually sit there and you wrap him up with tape. That's pretty premeditated, and you have to be thinking about that as you do it. And so that even makes it more scary that this is out there and somebody would do that.
And the fact that they could do that to a human being.
That's right. They could certainly act out that way to a human being.
Dr. Flexman says animal abuse is the start of a vicious cycle. Documented studies show that people convicted of violent crimes often have a history of animal abuse. The Humane Society also believes that someone chopped off the cat's tail when it was younger. This is one story, however, that has a happy ending. The firefighters who found him will be adopting him as their mascot. In Dayton, Linda Robertson, NewsCenter 7.
That's a tough one. A veterinarian says the cat has a damaged eye and lost a lot of fur, but in time his injuries will heal. Bundle up. Dave says it could be the coldest night on record this year.
And we'll show you how some bank employees in Troy helped one woman get ready for the cold weather.
Maybe you felt it today when the first blast of cold weather hits. You start noticing those drafts around the windows and under the doors. Tonight, a Troy woman is ready for winter thanks to some area banks, and they did more than shell out the money to winterize her home. They actually did the work. NewsCenter Steve Baker has the story.
A half dozen employees of Fifth Third Bank in Miami County left their business suits in the closet and wore blue jeans to work on this particular day. Their mission was to spend a day doing yard work and winterizing the home of Edna Drew on North Elm Street in Troy as part of Fifth Third's community caring program. The help, says Mrs. Drew, was certainly an answer to a prayer.
Well, I was very much surprised and very thankful that they came and did all this work for me.
Can you understand why?
No, I don't understand. I do understand why. I believe the Lord is behind it all. He's the one that's given it back to me. He's the only one that could have told these people. that I needed help.
The community caring program at Fifth Third Bank in Miami County is a relatively new project involving bank employees. In Troy, Steve Baker, News Center 7.
That's a really nice story.
Yes, it certainly is. I'm calling on Dave Freeman to dispel these nasty rumors about 27, 26-degree lows we're facing. Dave, I'm sure that you can shine some light on this and ease our fears.
Sorry about that. It's going to be cold. There's no doubt about it.
They're not just kidding us, trying to scare us?
But what's worrying me is that I'm now on a roll of 2 in a row of tough Saturdays to spend it outdoors. Last May, when we had our household hazardous waste cleanup, it rained all day. This Saturday, it's going to be downright chilly out there, but we'll be there. That's out at the Montgomery County South Incinerator on Saturday, picking up your household hazardous waste. And if you come out there, we'll be happy to give you one of these rather nifty little household hazardous waste wheels. It's kind of dial a mess. You look up what you've got to dispose of, or maybe if you're looking for an alternative for a chemical product, this wheel will tell you. Every card that comes through on Saturday will get one of these, as well as the opportunity to drop off your household hazardous waste and know that it will be disposed of properly. And don't forget, these little items here, household batteries, flashlight batteries, radios, watches, think of all the places you use them. We'll take these as well, and they will be recycled.
You know, what's interesting about that wheel is you can use baking soda for a lot of things, a lot of much more touch.
You were
I was playing with the wheel, yes.
You can also heat up pizza on the microwave.
You can tell where his heart is. Well, let's take a look and see just how cold it's going to be for this Saturday. The Doppler Storm Eye radar is dry. There were 13 minutes of sprinkles reported this afternoon at Dayton International Airport. That's the only thing that we've had so far today. Everywhere now we're looking at cloudy to clear skies out in Indianapolis, where they're at 36 degrees, partly cloudy up in Lima, 38. We're still pretty cloudy here. You can't tell it from tower cam, of course, this time of year. We're just looking at the twinkling lights of the city this evening. Let's check our current conditions out at Dayton International Airport. We're at 37 degrees. This should be 39 here at WHIO-TV. 39 our current temperature here. The National Weather Service reporting the barometer at 6 o'clock is steady at 30.24, 82% humidity and northwest wind at 10 miles an hour. As far as our air quality today, it was 33. That's in the good range. Today's high temperature, if you want to call it that, not very much so, 44. That occurred just before noon at 11:30, and this morning at 3 a.m. we had a low of 31 degrees. The record's 76. I would have loved that. Back in 1938, 20, the record low, back in 1903. Of course, now with those 13 minutes of sprinkles, we have a trace of precipitation. 68 hundredths remains our total for November, and almost 48 inches so far in 1990. Here's the situation today. The sprinkles, the clouds, all in association with a cold front that has now passed us by, and it's busting on to the east, and as it does so, we're going to see some of the clearing as we saw out in Indianapolis, and it's also ushering in much cooler air. This high back here is a very cold one. In Laramie, Wyoming this morning, you know those cartoon characters where they have icicles on their nose? That's the way it was this morning. -7 in Laramie, Wyoming, and so that cold air is going to be moving in right on top of us. Over the next 24 hours, we will be the coldest we have been so far this winter season. Now we're going to start turning our attention to this system down here to the south. It's going to kind of merge with that front in a very quick fashion, so that by Friday, as that front slides through, it could tap some of the moisture up from the Gulf, and that may touch off a chance of a shower, possibly even a snow flurry up in the way northern Miami Valley. Then toward the weekend, it looks like things will clear out, but again, ushering in another blast of cold air. So all that talk about the coldest night of the season, I'll be telling you again next week that we're getting ready to do it again. Here's the upper airflow, and this is why we think that storm will stay to the south, is that the upper airflow is just going to mash it down on top of all the folks down in the southland. So we may get a shower or two out of it all, but we're going to avoid the real heavy rainfall. Brisk cold clouds begin to break later on tonight. 26 for the overnight low. 28 has been our lowest temperature so far this winter season. 46 will be tomorrow's high. We could end up with quite a bit of sunshine in the afternoon, so it probably won't feel so bad. 30 then tomorrow night. Friday, we'll have mostly cloudy skies, and showers will be a possibility, and again, an off chance for a snow flurry way up north. 48 for the high, 34 overnight. A great day for your household hazardous waste collection on Saturday. Partly cloudy skies, 44. 30 overnight, and then here we go on Sunday. We drop down to 32. On Monday, I should say 42. 38 for the high on Monday with mostly cloudy skies. 22 on Monday night could double up as the next most coldest night. Here's tonight's weather school question. Thunder is caused by thunderstorms colliding, heat expanding the air, or lightning hitting solid objects. The correct answer, B, heat expanding the air. And by the way, a quick thank you to the Greenville Kiwanis for a great lunch and a great time, and they had a lot of nice things to say about my two cohorts here.
Well,
that's nice.
Wish you'd tell us about that. Unfortunately, we don't have time to hear it now. Good news for Flyer basketball. Mike Hartsock's next from NewsCenter 7.
The weather was brought to you by your Miami Valley Cadillac Gold Key dealers.
Mike Hartsock is in now with sports. When you go to a Flyers game, not too long, you're going to see a new face out on the court, and a very talented one.
Just when the rest of us are starting to plan to buy Christmas presents, Jim O'Brien's opening one. You know? A lot of experts say he's one of the top 50 high school recruits in the country. Chip Hare says he'll play his college basketball at Dayton. The 6'9", 240-pound big man made the commitment up in Massillon today. He plays at Perry High School up there. Chip chose the Flyers over Ohio State. He was a big-time prospect despite playing only 6 games a year ago, sitting out with an elbow injury. A big man with three-point shooting range. Hare joins Beaver Creek's Marco Picard as early Flyer commitments. Meanwhile, the stage is set for the Division III football showdown of the season this week in Dayton. The top-rated Flyers hosting number 3 Ferrum. First off, let's answer your question. Ferrum is a little school in a little town in Virginia, but the Panthers do have a big-time team.
There's no doubt they are the best football team that we have played this year, from the standpoint of talent. And then I think the other standpoint is that they have been winning.
On paper, it's anything you can do, we can do better. The Flyers average 340 yards a game running the football. Ferrum does better.
Outstanding running backs that run the wishbone attack. They're number 1 in the country in rushing yardage. Are averaging close to 500 yards a game rushing.
The Flyers usually throw a lot of weight around on their opponents. Ferrum is bigger.
Well, Ferrum can actually line up 3 young men on their offensive line that are over 300 pounds. They can start 2 guards. One will weigh 380, 6'5". The other one is 6'5" and weighs 303. And we just don't see that kind of size week in and week out. And then along with that, they have the great skill and speed in the backfield. So there's no doubt we're going to have to play our very best to win this ball game.
For the second time in as many weeks, the Dunbar Wolverines get a shot at knocking off an unbeaten team. Top-rated St. Mary's putting an 11-0 record on the line Friday night, taking on the City League champs on their home field. John Condit has more on Dunbar's chances.
The Dunbar Wolverines are preparing for a perfect St. Mary's team, but not the most talented team that the Wolverines have faced.
They execute real well, but as far as physical talent, no. They're the best physical talent team, no.
It should be a defensive challenge for the 9-2 Wolves. St. Mary's has scored 40 points in a shutout over Cincinnati Northwest on Friday.
Yeah, they do a lot of tricky plays. We have to stay at home instead of blitz a lot and build out of the tricky plays, the counters, the quick draws.
Now, one thing for the Wolverines, they'll get to play on their home field here at Welcome Stadium. That's very rare for a playoff game.
I don't think they had to give permission. I think the state knew it was a money game, and the crowd and the best facilities, it was available, and why not play in here?
We play at home. We haven't lost at home yet.
I'm John Condit, covering the playoffs for Touchdown 7.
One final note, you know, Super Bowl 27, 1993, is supposed to be played in Phoenix, Arizona, but Phoenix and the entire state of Arizona they voted down a Martin Luther King holiday yesterday during their election, and the commissioner of the National Football League says, well, I don't know if we want to play the Super Bowl there.
So it's off?
So it's not off yet, but chances are, unless they vote a holiday in, they won't play Super Bowl 27 out there.
Okay.
So I guess there's no hope of a Super Bowl in Ohio.
Yeah, we could offer Welcome Stadium.
A little bit too chilly.
Thanks, Mike. When we come back, a local company that outsells the Japanese in Japan.
The Sports has been brought to you by McDonald's Restaurants and Dayton area Toyota dealers. A
Huber Heights company whose products outsell Japanese products in Japan has received a top award from the president. Spectra Physics makes lasers that are used in high-tech surveying equipment. The company started out in founder Bob Studebaker's basement. Now it sells its lasers in 37 foreign countries. Spectra Physics received the President's E Award for excellence in exporting, and nearly all 600 workers were there for the ceremony. Only 10 other Dayton companies have received the E Award in 30 years.
Oil prices moved up sharply today in New York, but the close was still well below the $40 a barrel highs hit at some times during the Persian Gulf crisis. Texas Intermediate was up $2.68 today to $35.31 a barrel. The U.S. dollar, though, was weaker. Gold was higher in Europe today. In London, gold gained $7 an ounce to end at $387.25. In New York, where gold had its big gain yesterday, the close was down 30 cents an ounce to $386.30. Silver on the New York COMEX up 4 cents today to end the day at $4.27. The stock market fell today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost almost 45 points, 44.31 to be exact. The Dow closed at 2440.84. Decliners led gainers by 5-2. Trading was moderate today, 149,130,000 shares. Analysts say the market appeared to be on hold, awaiting the results of a quarterly offering of bonds and notes by the Treasury Department, which began on Tuesday and continues through Thursday. On the big board in New York, 2 highs for the year and 83 new lows. The New York Stock Exchange estimates that a share of common stock on the average lost 47 cents in value today, and the New York Exchange Index was off 2.74, closing at 167.47. Over on the American Stock Exchange, volume today was 11,095,000 shares, with 2 highs for the year and 41 new lows. The American Exchange estimates that a share of common stock was down 8 cents in value. The American Exchange Index lost 2.41. It closed at 289.74. And Standard & Poor's 500 stock index was down 5.61. It closed today at 306.01. Dog therapy in a hospital. Next from NewsCenter 7.
The Wall Street Business Report, brought to you in part by your Dayton Honda dealers.
Dogs these days aren't just man's best friend. It seems they are also doctors, at least at a hospital in Burlington, Vermont anyway. That is because Jordan and Lily bring laughter and love into the lives of sick little boys and girls staying there. Now, Jordan and Lily really get into the role, as you can see here. They may never dress like Florence Nightingale, but they do dress up as circus performers, cows, zebras, and bunny rabbits. You're missing it if you're listening on radio because it's cute. A wagging tail, wet nose, and kiss may not cure these sick youngsters, but it certainly makes hospital time a lot more pleasant.
Boy, those kids are having a good time. That is our 6 o'clock report for Wednesday, November 7th, 1990.
The CBS Evening News is next. Then tonight on NewsCenter 7 at 11 o'clock, several hundred troops are taking off from Wright-Patterson tonight, headed for the Persian Gulf. We'll be there when the soldiers say goodbye.
Also at 11, kids in Huber Heights say voters let them down by voting down an income tax for schools. We'll explain what cuts are in store for those kids.
Dave Freeman says we are heading for the coldest night of this season.
That's all coming up tonight at 11. Now to CBS.
2 more tank divisions to be sent to Saudi Arabia. Incumbents dominate election 1990. And riots in Israel over the assassination of Rabbi Kahana. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting tonight from CBS News election headquarters in New York. Good evening. CBS News has learned that the United States is preparing a major redeployment of offensive U.S. military forces